Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. Today, I wanted to kind of cheer myself up because it's been such a tough couple of weeks, couple of days, whole month. And getting creative is one of the ways that I can feel a little bit better. So I thought I'd share this video with you guys because I will be participating in the Junk Journal July for 2024. And luckily, I have a friend who also wanted to try this challenge with me. So I actually got her to create her journal today. So I showed her how to make her book, and I thought I would show you how I made mine as well. And so I will be going through my setup, my supplies that I'm going to be having. I've done this a few times, whether it's in January or July. They do have a Junk Journal July challenge and Junk Journal January challenge. And if you haven't heard of these before, these are created by someone who's pretty much on Instagram and YouTube. Her name is megjournals. She's really, really cool. So the reason why I'm joining this challenge is because this actually aligns with my no spend goal and my personal goal for the year, which is to create more and consume less. So for all of my paper enthusiasts out there who are hoarding paper just like I am, this is a great way to use your inventory and declutter your stuff. So this is gonna be really fun. I'm super excited about this. So let's go ahead and go to my table setup and I'll show you how I created my journal cover. So here is the inspiration for the cover. We had our journal date at the park that day, and the cover that I brought, she also liked the size of it, and I was able to yield two journal covers from this box of sparkling juice, so that turned out to be perfect. And we also picked the same papers for the journal and just personalized it to how we wanted to order it and such. And these were papers that I already had on hand. So coffee dyed papers, brown papers, gift wrapping papers, maps, any kind of junk paper is really all you need, and it doesn't have to be the same size. This book measures about 4¼ by 5½, and you'll only need 8 pieces of paper to create this journal because you have 30 prompts. So unless you're planning on doing 2-page spreads, 8 papers are enough to make this journal. And then here I'm pulling some papers to use to collage the cover. So anything from recipe books, music sheets, book pages, dictionary pages, encyclopedias, you name it. There are so many papers that you can use. And this is kind of the danger of art journaling is because you'll start to see all the free resources that you have at home. It's gonna be really hard to throw anything away. And that's where the paper hoarding begins. So be careful because you have been warned. And so if you haven't made your journal yet, this book took me less than an hour to make. So you can literally just use any junk paper that you have in your house because you're going to end up decorating it once you start with the journal prompts anyways. And normally, what a lot of people do with their journal covers is that they collage the outside of the cover. But something that I like to do with my covers when they're super cute is, especially like my big journal that I have, is that I like to keep the covers in its original form, but decorate the inside to reinforce the cover since my spine was glued down because of how the box was cut. And the tip that I can give you is that I do go heavy-handed with my glue sticks, especially for my cover, especially the edges, because it is a lot harder to put more glue on after you placed it and the paper dries. But even if you think you messed up, you can just cover it with some other kind of paper to hide any mistakes you think you made. I did also like that the challenge has like these neutral tones with some hints of pink, so I did try to gravitate towards those colors when collaging the cover. And here I am just putting this brown paper to do like a little scrunching technique just to give the cover a little bit of a texture. And it kind of looks like an old book page to me, which is kind of cool. And here you definitely will see that you want to reinforce the middle because it will go through a lot of bending, a lot of openings. So you just want to make sure you adhere the paper as much as you can, and you can put as much glue as it can handle. So once I've already completed the background, I'm just going to add the final touches and add some vintage ephemera. I'm also going to be adding some stamps, some pink pops of color. These are like replica bus tickets and of course some vintage stamps, which has like those tones of red and pinks. So we're just gonna place them any which way really. And this is kind of where you can start playing with your placement, but it's honestly not that big of a deal if it doesn't look the way you want it to. And you can always, like I said, you can always cover it. You can always add more to it later on if it doesn't look the way you want it to look. And this is kind of on a time crunch. So, you can always add more stuff to it later, but it's not the end of the world if it doesn't look the way you think it should look for your junk journal July challenge. So once my journal cover is completed, I was just kind of bending it just so that it will have that form that it's going to eventually have once my journal expands a little bit. And I'm just fixing that last paper that's on the inside of the signature just because it was a little bit bigger, but I wanted to keep the papers just in case, and I'll always be able to rip it out in case I don't end up using the extra pieces of papers in there. And here I'm doing a easy pamphlet stitch, and instead of just tying it from the inside, I'm starting the needle from the outside of the journal just so that I can have the tie on the outside of the spine. And that is basically my journal. All right, so this journal is pretty small compared to the journals I've created before, but because I wanted to repurpose this box so much, this is going to be the journal for the month. And I did put a couple more pages than what was needed just in case I decide to make a spread for a prompt. But I do like all of the pinks. I do consider myself a tomboy growing up, but I've always been drawn to pink. I love girly stuff, even though I don't really use it. If you guys are joining, definitely let me know. Send me your setup. I would love to see. Tag me on Instagram. That would be pretty cool. And I will also link all of the resources that I can find for Meg Journals and like the freebies that she has to be able to help you guys with the journaling and the prompting too. So that's actually pretty neat. So for my setup, I don't have a lot of stuff with me. All of that stuff is at my mom's house, but I only bring stuff with me that I'm going to use. So I just have like a couple of, you saw this already, but I basically just have a bunch of vintage ephemera papers that I can use to collage. And because the pages are so small, it honestly don't need a lot to cover this little tiny thing. And because it's so small, it's not as intimidating, which is great because we don't need that. And I also already have my really big journal that I created, which I'm still working on. So for my travel setup, this is super dirty. I probably should wash it, but this is my travel journal setup. This is usually what I bring with me when I'm doing something journaly. And I also have a box of chocolates that has all of the other papers that I use in case I need some, but it's basically just a box of all my ephemera, any extra papers that I want to use. If I want to add anything, it's just kind of all in here. So I hopefully will be able to go through a lot of these and get rid of a lot of these things because it's just literally sitting here and it'll be a waste to just let it sit here. So this has got to be used. So it doesn't even close anymore. That's how big it is. So we had to use that. But for my bag, I usually will have a couple of pens. So on the inside, we have some pens and some scissor. This is scissor. And this side, I usually just bring my awl with me every time I need to make a book. And then some other extra like cards in case I need to use wet glue. I usually will put my stickers. So all of the stickers that you saw, these are just, stickers that extra ephemera that I was selling in my shop, and whether they were like defective or they were missing pieces to it, I just end up keeping it. But I never ended up using it, so now is my chance. So I also have like some vintage stamps, which are usually what we always need to have on hand for art journaling. So I'm just gonna kind of keep that all in there. Sorry. And then on the other side is where I have a bigger pocket, and I have my, you know, big double-sided tape. I also have a smaller one, which I think was on the other side. Some bags in case I need bags. And I do have some like little tiny things that I carry around just in case I need some, like whiteout for my planner, and paper clips in case. But for my media, I have two things, and they're usually water-based. So I have in this cute little container that my friend gave me from 1999 to 2000 is my box of watercolor crayons. These are just, you know, some Caran d'Ache, some cool old, super old watercolor crayons that I need to use up. And they're, you know, they're broken. I usually use the cover for water, and then I just use whatever colors I have there. And then I also have a little tiny watercolor setup. This is Jane Davenport, and this is pretty cute because it has like this little thing that you can use as a palette if you want to hold it. And it's pretty cool because you have these colors, it already smeared, and then it opens up. So yeah, and it's kind of falling apart. But these are pretty cool. These are small and they're go-to and they're easy to carry, which is why I keep it here. That's basically it. And you don't really need a lot of stuff when you're traveling or when you're on the go, or if you just want to keep something with you. So this is kind of what I like to carry with me, and I liked it so much that I bought a bunch of these bags to put it in my shop. So I actually have these on sale. So if in case you guys like the travel journal bags, it's a makeup bag, but I love to use it for my art journal supplies. So yeah, and that's basically it for me. If you guys are joining in the challenge, let me know. I hope you guys are getting ready. Hopefully I can get this video out before July, but this is going to be super exciting. And this is like so small, it'll just like fit in my bag. So I can like take this with me everywhere. And it happens to be yellow. That's kind of neat. So hopefully if you guys are joining the challenge, this is not going to be too stressful, and hopefully this is a way for you to be creative and having this as an outlet instead of it being as a stressful thing, because it shouldn't be so stressful. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you guys on the next video. Take care.